Hi, everyone. I'm Meg Oliver.
And I'm Vladimir Duthiers. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin this hour with the aftermath of Michael. Parts of the Florida Panhandle will begin recovering today from the most powerful hurricane to ever slam the U.S. mainland in nearly half a century.
The storm is blamed for at least 2 deaths. More than 500,000 homes and businesses are without power across the southeast. One Florida resident said it looked like an atomic bomb hit our city.
And the threat is not over as Michael makes its way up north, bringing heavy downpours and possible tornadoes to parts of Georgia and North and South Carolina. We begin our team coverage in Port St. Joe, Florida, with CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca.
We don't have radar. We don't have cell phones.
After the eye wall passed Port St. Joe, those who rode out the storm emerged to find the town shredded by the hurricane.
Thank God we didn't try to take cover in this house.
Boats were pushed on shore, trees snapped in half by 155-mile-per-hour winds. Power lines hung over roads, and cars were crunched together by up to 8 feet of storm surge. Nothing was left unscathed. Residents here didn't wait for help to arrive. Neighbors with boats and trucks launched their own rescue efforts, going door to door to reach people stranded by high water. How long were you guys in there?
3-4 hours.
Jeff Pitts and his dog Buddy were picked up after 4 feet of storm surge flooded his home. Jeff's Aunt Donna said their son went to rescue others nearby.
They have personal friends that are trapped in actually similar but worse situation, deeper water in their home. So they came to my house and got his boat, and they're trying to rescue them now.
Help is coming in from across the state.
I got the call at 4 in the morning to set up and come, but so I left my wife and my 2 kids at home.
A caravan of fire crews from Broward and Miami-Dade County are headed north to join the emergency teams already on the ground. PJ Parker and her dog Bodie are close behind.
This is what we work for. This is what we want to do. This is what the dogs want to do.
And CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca is joining us now from Port St. Joe, Florida, which was cut off for hours during the storm. Omar, you're in one of the hardest hit areas. As you can look around and behind you, it just looks like a bomb went off. How intense was the storm?
Well, we were hunkered down in a hotel when the worst part of the storm was coming in, Meg, and the building was shaking. Obviously, the windows held up miraculously, but the floor was also shaking, so that was a little unnerving. And what made it odd, too, is that we would get gusts of wind that were pretty powerful, and then you would get an eerie calm, and then all of a sudden it would kick back up again. A lot of the wind is caused some of this damage, but of course, the most damage was by flooding. There was about 4 feet of water that basically poured through this port area here at Port St. Joe. This used to be a Burger King. I'm standing at what was the drive-through. Not anymore. This part of the building has basically just been ripped off the side. You see contents from the inside strewn about, and then there's a neighborhood just behind us, and it is we're seeing things maybe 3 or 4 blocks spread out. So the devastation, people are starting to come back and try to assess what they're seeing because the sun is coming up, but this is what they know. They have no power. They have very little cell phone connection, if any. Some of the emergency crews are starting to come out, turn off gas. There's no electricity, so the cleanup process is starting. It's going to be slow.
Omar, as you know, Florida's governor says that more than 1,800 workers are already helping with the cleanup effort. I mean, and we're just looking at these images here, and it's going to take, I mean, is there an estimate? And I know it's early in the early hours, but is there an estimate as to how long this
You cut out a little bit, Vlad, but I think you're asking me, is there an estimate about possibly how long this would take? No, it's too early at this point. Matter of fact, we saw a Coast Guard helicopter flying over just a few minutes ago. That must be some of the early assessments that they're basically trying to figure out what, in fact, is going on and see how bad the damage is. And they're seeing residential areas, business districts, the main drag here in St. Joe, just completely devastated. I'm looking over here, and there's a city worker here trying to make sure that the gas in this property is turned off. We saw another one turn it off. We haven't seen any power trucks just yet. Interesting point in our story, those folks that were from Broward County and Miami-Dade, they were on their way over. They just came back from helping folks in South Carolina and Hurricane Florence, so there's no rest for them at all. They're immediately heading over to the Florida Panhandle. People here are anticipating it's going to be at least days, possibly weeks, before any power is going to be turned on in this area. Interesting note, getting around Port St. Joe is an adventure in itself, and what we found is not only big trees in the way, roads completely washed out. We were caravanning to try to get into this part of Port St. Joe, and there was another section where the road was gone. About 15 feet of road was gone, dropped off into a bridge. And apparently it was a bridge. It dropped out. We saw car scrapes. So somebody apparently went over that like the Dukes of Hazzard and thought they could make it. And apparently they did. We didn't see any stalled cars, but people had to put debris up to stop people because in the dark, you're not going to find that. And if you're in a big utility truck, there's no way you're getting across that without an engineer coming out and trying to make sure people are not going to go over, and they've got to create something so people can come in here.
All right, Omar Villafranca for us in Port St. Joe. Thank you, Omar. It's remarkable when you look at those